Cobb TV. Watch your life make sense.
When one looks into the human heart, we can see it is a collection of desires. From the basic necessities to the more complex social desires of wealth, honor, and knowledge. But there appears a point within every human heart that yearns for something different. It desires to know only one thing. What is the meaning of my life? Welcome to The Point.
So where were you born, Laurie?
I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. My dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around. We spent a lot of time in Europe, in Naples, but we moved every 3 years. So we were sort of on the go a lot.
So what did you want to be when you grew up?
I don't know. You know, when I started off in life, I didn't have a specific, this is when I want to be a doctor, I want to be this, I want to be that. Mm-hmm. I think, in a lot of ways, I didn't know what I wanted to be. Sort of later in life, then it started questioning what I wanted to do and what was I supposed to do. But there wasn't this, real strong desire to do anything when I was younger, which I think brought me to a lot of questions even when I was young of why am I here? I remember even being like in 4th or 5th grade going, why is everything happening through my viewpoint? Is everybody else having the same viewpoint, or is it just me? Is the world revolving around me? Or, I couldn't figure those questions out at a really young age. So, so I had that question a lot of why am I here? Why does it seem like the world's happening in my movie?
Right.
Or is everybody else having a movie too? In a lot of ways, I saw it, it was painful in some ways with struggling with dealing with life and dealing with people and dealing with relationships because I didn't know, even though I saw myself as the director, I didn't know how to direct properly. Do you know?
Did you feel like you had difficulty communicating with
other
people?
I had difficulty sometimes communicating, sometimes connecting, sometimes just understanding what people wanted from me, what was needed from me, their demands, and also, and also not necessarily fitting in, not quite understanding what was being played out and how I had a place in it at all. It's like I knew that I was sort of directing or I had this film, but I didn't know how it worked. Even though I was directing the movie, I could see that there was this viewpoint for me, why certain times in my life it would be like a timer was set or a jack in the box, that certain situations would happen in my life and I would just go on automatic. And there was I had no control over it. I had absolutely no control of how I would react, how I would feel. It's like the emotions would start pouring. And so I did, everything. I studied all these different religions trying to figure out how to do that. Now, in most cases, I sort of figured out how to ride the wave to a certain degree, how to ride when it was cranked up and all the emotions would come of abandonment and loss and all those feelings.
Where were these feelings coming from of abandonment and loss?
They were just there. They were inside. I mean, it's like I had absolutely no control over.
So nothing in particular triggered those emotions?
Well, yeah, outside circumstances did. If I broke up with a boyfriend or if my family got upset with me of what I did or what I was moving, it would, and I'd feel like people were leaving, of course things would trigger it, but it's like I had, I was sort of realizing that I had absolutely no control over so much, even though I saw the world from my viewpoint, it wasn't like I was in control of this movie that was happening. I sort of went to sort of this back to the land kind of movement. when I was working as a beekeeper and when I was working, sort of living very simply, there was some answers in how nature worked, and I saw it back then because there was a real sense that there was some harmony going on there. That when you got into nature where there wasn't so much influence, human influence into it, there was some incredible harmony. Whether it was working as a beekeeper and seeing the harmony of the hive, you know, or on a farm where all the different animals and, you know, influences, you know, the animals that sort of contribute to the making of the vegetables and the meats and all of that.
There's an entire cycle.
So there was definitely answers that I was looking for. And I knew that there were certain laws of nature that were set in stone, that this is how it works. But I didn't know how we fit in with that, how humans fit in with that. But I was definitely saw some harmony. It gave me comfort, and it was a place where I would continually go back and look and sort of figure that out. There was still questions of, okay, nature's working this way, but how do I fit into that? Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to become exactly like nature, like a plant or, you know, the animals? Or is there something, there's got to be something bigger. There's got to be something more. I was going through a divorce, and it was a very painful divorce, sort of letting go of a lot of the images that I had thought, you know, marriage and having a child should sort of lead in one direction.
Kind of like the ideal life.
Yeah, the ideal of what it should do. And honestly, I was going through divorce, and my ex-husband was quite upset, and I had heard about another Kabbalah group about wearing red strings. Mm-hmm. So I wanted the red string to protect myself because I knew he was pretty upset with me. So I bought a red string and sort of dabbled in Kabbalah and some other groups. Mm-hmm. And that's when some of the wisdom sort of came through. And that's when I discovered B'nai Baruch. I think it answered the question that I had when I would go into nature, of how that force affects us, what my place is in it, and how it functions.
Did you feel finally that you could possibly connect or understand, communicate better with other people?
I think it did. I think I think it brought more clarity to this idea that I had as a child, that I was in this movie. And it brought more clarity of how this sort of movie or this world was being run. But the biggest part was, I don't know, I think it was when I met a lot of people within B'nai Baruch, connecting with our desires. It was something like I had never felt before. Do you know, it was a heart connection. It was not what you look like. It's not what you did. It wasn't your job. It wasn't, you know, living simply, eating organic, you know, working on what we thought spiritual progress was. It was a heart connection that that touched me the most, I think.
So how does that affect the way you see your movie now?
I think how it affects it is it brings some clarity that, number one, that there is a movie, that almost how I'm seeing the world or how my movie is being played out is how I'm feeling inside, or the qualities, or what's internal for me. So it's given me You know, outside sometimes I used to think, well, how come that person's playing this way in the movie? How come that person's doing this in the movie? Why don't they stop doing this in my movie? You know, how can I get them to stop? Or how can I get them to, you know, go away, or certain people to come into the movie? I didn't know what everybody's purpose was. But I think now, through this study, is somehow I've gotten a bigger picture of why this movie's being played out. There's a sense of peace with it. There's a sense of knowing, you know, how the movie set runs, how things are happening, what I can do, what the rules of the game, you know, what the rules of it are.
Thank you so much, Laurie, for coming in and telling us your story. It's incredible to have met you throughout this whole journey. It's great to hear so many stories about how you come to that point where you push and you push and you push and you finally get the answer.